Welcome to Brothers RC. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the modifications I did to this MN-82. Some of the mods were easy and some were not. Adding a 4-link in the rear and portal axles front and back was definitely not easy. So let's get into the video and I'll show you how I got it to flex like this. The truck and any parts I used to make it like this will be in the description down below if you want to try to do this yourself. I think I'm definitely going to have to use the 4-link here somehow because these leaf springs just are not allowing for any type of articulation. They're really stiff and I can't get them to work correctly. I removed the shocks and that helped a little bit, but it actually caused the rear end of the truck to sag down and it was kind of sitting, you know, at a slant like that. So I unscrewed the spring from there and I drilled a hole and put it in there. It actually rides at a nice height now. But now, even though it raised the ride height, I think that the springs are even stiffer and there's just zero articulation here, even with these heavy wheels. And the heavy wheels are another thing. This truck is super heavy now and the motor seems to be struggling a little bit. I have this same wheel but in aluminum, so I'm going to remove these two brass ones from the rear wheels and I'm going to put those aluminum ones on here. And that should reduce the weight significantly and ease the stress on the motor. Alright, I got the truck broken down, axles removed and wheels removed. I've got the 4-link mocked up here and it is extremely hard to get this to work. I've never seen any videos on it and I'm not sure how other people have done it, but it's pretty dang hard to get a 4-link in the back of here. These 4-link suspension arms are off of an old MN I had and they fit onto the WPL portal axle, but they're very tight, so I'm gonna have to drill those out. And on the front axle, I cut the truss off of the original axle because it had the servo mounted to it. Now I've got the WPL truss and I'm gonna have to attach that to the piece that was on the servo. Then I'll be able to mount my front portal. All right, so I've spent hours trying to get all of this stuff to work. And I think I got the front end working. That's good. The back though, it's a whole different story. It's really, really hard to get this 4-link to work. And with this really wide chassis in the back, it's almost impossible to find a place to mount the shocks. Also, the geometry just doesn't work. You know, you can't get a long shock in here and hook it here anywhere. So you got to come up inside the fender well here. And that's going to put the shock at a weird angle. So I'm going to have to cut into the chassis here. You know, this thing is way harder to get to function than that WPL. But if I can get these rear shocks to work, it should turn out an okay trail truck. And if it doesn't, well, I'm just going to introduce it to Mr. 12 gauge. All right, I'm going to mark this and then cut into the chassis and bring the shock up inside the bed here. And that'll straighten the shock out and allow me to get good articulation. Okay, I just chopped that piece of the chassis rail. I left the inner rail and I took out the outer rail. Now I should be able to mount the shock inside the fender well there. All right, I got the shocks installed and they are working correctly. And they're working really good actually. Probably need to put some heavier oil in them, but other than that, the articulation is really good. The front as well, it's great, good articulation, nice and smooth. Let's take a quick look at the articulation on these tires here. And it's really good. Not even starting to come off the ground in the back. Definitely going to be getting some rubbing here and here as well. We'll have to fix that. All right, so the suspension is functioning fantastic. There's a bunch of little things that I need to do to the truck to finish the build, including but not limited to all of this stuff. I got to shorten the outdrives on the axles so that I can bring the wheelbase in because right now it's got too much negative offset and the tires are sticking out way too far. Then I'm going to put aluminum wheels in the back and I'm also going to be testing out these new tires. I've still got to cut some excess off of the 4-link and shave it down so it doesn't catch on the rocks. The shocks need oil and the rear ones need some spacers to stiffen them up just a little bit. I got to drill the drive lines and put a bigger screw in there so that it can hold the D-shaft on the pinion. I got to remove and shave down where the leaf spring anchors are because we don't have them anymore and we just don't need those. Then trim the front fenders to get rid of the wheel rub. And I've got to switch the motor polarity. These WPL axles are set up for the opposite rotation of the motors, so you got to switch the polarity of the motor and then you're good to go. To switch the motor polarity, I had to take the whole body off. Then you come in here where the motor's plugged in and you pull that plug out, turn it around the other way and stick it back in there. Now it's hard to get back in there, but if you take an X-Acto knife and shave a little bit of plastic off of one side, you'll see what I mean when you take it out. It'll slide right back in there and you're good to go. That's what she said. All right, I'm gonna get this body bolted back on here and then we're gonna take it outside and rip up the trail. Well, hopefully, if everything functions correctly, we're gonna rip up the trail. If not, we're gonna be disappointed and come back in here and fix stuff. All right, let's test out the articulation in here and really get a good look at the way the suspension is reacting and performing now. Working pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, a lot more articulation than it used to have. So one great thing about putting portal axles in is it reduces your gearing and makes your slow crawl better. As you can see, it's just really slow and the suspension's articulating really well. All right, the suspension and everything is working really well, so let's see if we can get up this much more difficult obstacle here. Man, it's doing really good. Let's see if we have enough control to get up this. And back down the other side. Tires are a little wet. Wow, this thing is awesome. Let's see how well it side hills on this rock right here. Not terrible. Let's see how it descends. Nice and slow. Very controllable. The motor seems a little bit weak, but it definitely gets it done. This thing can crawl some pretty serious stuff now. The truck did great out there today. I'm pretty freaking stoked on it. It functions even better than I thought it would. You know, that leaf spring in the back and having to get this 4-link to work, I just wasn't sure that it was ever going to be a good crawler. But as you can see, the shocks and the portals are working really well. The portal gears have slowed it down and, you know, it crawls really well now. Really controllable and really slow. And the 4-link in the back, as you can see, just flexes and works really good. And the weight distribution with the brass wheels in the front is pretty spot on. It climbed and descended well. So overall, just a fantastic build. These tires are the only thing that I might change. These new tires I got here are pretty cool and scale looking, and I'm really anxious to give them a try. They're also a little bit stiffer. These tires here are super soft and this truck is very heavy. So on tight turns and stuff, they are smashing down, I think, a little too far. I think maybe these are a little too soft. So I'm going to go ahead and try these tires. I'm also going to be giving it a paint job. If you want to see any of that, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Then smash that bell and you'll get notified when I drop my next video. Thanks for watching, and remember, when you think RC, think O Brothers RC.